Hey, this is Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. Welcome to our live stream this morning. Hi, it's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. Welcome to our live stream this morning. Today we have Pat Gillis, who's the ride director for the Hearts at the Hospital ride being held next weekend up in the Villages. Morning, Pat.
Good morning, Jim. It's great to be here.
Thank you. I know you're dealing with a little bit of a cold issue thanks to the grandkids.
Yes, I fell victim to the cold bug. So,
Yeah,
if I start breaking down into a Barry White tune here, you'll know exactly why.
So, Pat, a lot of people may not know, well, two things. First off, the Villages is a unique place for a lot of reasons. Not least of which is that you're the only League of American Bicyclists gold level city in Florida. Is that correct?
That is correct. We just recently got that award from the League of American Bicyclists. Having 4 years ago, came in at the silver level. So we're very, very excited about that. Kind of a testament to.
So what does it mean to me as someone who's interested in riding a bicycle there?
I'm sorry?
What does it mean to me if I'm considering riding a bicycle in the Villages? What does that status as gold level in the LAB mean?
It signifies that the community here has a very, very robust infrastructure to welcome cyclists into the community. So from the very beginning with the rollout of the Villages, there's a massive infrastructure of multimodal paths that allow for cyclists to move from one location to the other. There's a tremendous amount of bicycling education that's done within the community. So all of that kind of goes into the formula, if you will, that LAB uses for making decisions about award levels for the different communities.
All right, so I wanted to mention that because a lot of people that we're going to encourage people to come to the Villages who may have never been there. Certainly people who don't live in the Villages. Tell us a little bit about the Hearts for the Hospital ride that you're having next weekend.
Right. So this weekend coming up, actually the 9th through the 11th, we have what we call the Big Bike Weekend. And the main event is the Bicycle Challenge that is going to be on Saturday. And that is a charity event that supports the Villages Regional Hospital Auxiliary Foundation, which is the fundraising arm of the Villages Regional Hospital. So the riders that will be participating in the ride, we ask them to raise a little bit of money along the way to help our cause, and then we reach out to the sponsors throughout the Villages community to also help us with that. And it's been a tremendously successful event over the course of, this will be the 4th year of the event, and we're very excited to be able to talk to folks about it.
Well, I know that I've been up there for probably each of the 4 years. I'm not sure, but every year it gets better. And I know that every year there's an emphasis on making changes to the event itself and to the expo before the event and the food after the event and what have you. Tell us a little bit about the ride options. I know you've got really a kind of a broad range of ride options. And then I'm going to talk about the rest areas because there's some interesting stuff there that you want your riders to know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this year, as last year, we have 5 different ride options for individuals to participate in. We start off with a family-friendly 10-mile route. That'll be individuals will basically be able to go out on that, and we'll also provide ride marshals that will help them along the way. Right. So we call the 10-mile route the nitrous oxide because you'll feel no pain as you go through that. It will include a rest stop as well. And then we have a 20-mile route, a 32, 64, and then a 100-mile route. So we have a ride for just about anybody that is interested in spending some time on a bike on a Saturday. We're very excited.
And I know that many times you talk about the 100 being a great warm-up for the Horrible 100, which will be the following weekend up at Claremont. Is that right?
That is correct. The Horrible 100 coming up the weekend afterwards. This is a great opportunity to lay down some base miles. The routes, one could say they're almost flat as a pancake. We have about a 1,100 feet worth of elevation gain on the 100-mile route, and then somewhere around 900 on the 64, and then it drops down from there to the 10-mile route has about 240 feet worth of elevation gain on it. So it is a great opportunity to lay down some good miles and not have to worry about a lot of hill climbing, which when you see Central Florida, sometimes you might think that there's a lot of hills, but not the case with the routes that we ride here within the villages.
So a lot of people don't understand the magnitude of what the Villages is today. I think the footprint of the Villages actually sits in 3 separate counties up there. It used to all be in Sumter, no longer. I think there's over 120,000 residents in the Villages, from what I understand. Got between 50 and 65,000 golf carts in the Villages. So how much of the ride would I get to see the Villages if I was doing everything but the 100, for instance, or the 64?
If you do the 10, the 20, and the 32, those are all contained exclusively within the Villages. Right. And you'll get an opportunity to tootle along the boulevards that we have here, as well as some of the side communities that comprise the Villages. So it's a great opportunity to see and appreciate what the Villages has to offer. Now, those rides, they will be on the road, so we won't be tootling around on multimodals with this event. But certainly for other individuals and other ride times, a lot of people take advantage of the multimodals. The 64 and the 100, they really get us outside of the Villages. So through those 2 rides, you get a chance to experience riding in the more rural areas of Sumter County, and we'll also hit a little bit of Lake County and Marion County as well.
Okay. And I know that, so give me a breakdown of sort of how many people are going to participate traditionally in the 10 and the 20 versus the 30 and the 62, 32 and 64 and the 100.
Right. We're estimating that we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 400 riders for the event on the 10th. So the 100-mile route will be about 20% of the total ridership. So we'll have 80 riders participating in that. And then the 32 and the 64, they'll be the most popular 2 routes combined. They'll represent in the neighborhood of about 60% of the ridership. So do the math real quick, 240 riders there. And then the 10 and the 20-mile ride, that'll comprise the balance, which will be another 20%. Math is a wonderful thing. That'll be another 80 riders there.
Okay. And I know that one of the things that is unusual, probably for those of us who do rides like this, you normally think you're going to stop somewhere. There's going to be a tent on the side of the road. There's going to be a portalet. Maybe it's going to be on an angle, and you know all these things that you deal with. Not at the Villages. Tell us about the rest stops.
Right. Okay. So for the rides that are within the Villages exclusively, the 10, the 20, and the 32, all of the rest stops there will be at one of the various recreation centers that we have. So there'll be really, really nice restrooms to take advantage of. So you won't be visiting porta potty on those. And then outside the Villages, we have strategically located those rest stops at either a public park, which will have a restroom there, or we take advantage of the partners that we have participating in the ride and utilize those facilities. So Lake Sumter State College will be utilizing their Somerville campus, and they'll have nice restrooms and an area for a good rest stop. And then the Girl Scout camp out in Wildwood lets us utilize their facilities. So we're very grateful to our sponsors for being able to take advantage of the facilities that they have to offer and give our riders a very, very good experience.
Well, I know too that you have an amazing support staff that runs this ride in terms of SAG, law enforcement. Tell the viewers something about what you've got going on there that really has the best interest of the riders covered from start to finish. Right.
To that point, we have what we think is an absolutely phenomenal relationship with the law enforcement in the local area. The Sumter County Sheriff's Office, they run kind of point on all of our interactions with law enforcement. Lieutenant Seymour is our main point of contact, but we'll have law enforcement support from Marion County and the Lady Lake Police Department, and obviously Sumter County as well. And they will provide assistance through the intersections, as well as watching for the riders as they go through the various roundabouts. And we have a handful of roundabouts here in the villages, which makes it kind of a very interesting and unique riding experience. But the law enforcement will be there to help with the vehicle traffic and the roundabouts. And then we have a really nice relationship that dovetails the Sumter County Amateur Radio Emergency Services in with our law enforcement. And they will have vehicles out on the road, and they will sweep each of our rides. And inside each of the trucks that they'll have out on the road will be a ham radio operator with a transponder. And we will be tied into a digital network. And back at the command center at the La Hacienda Recreation Center, there'll be a large screen TV. And on a real-time basis, we'll be able to monitor the progress of all 5 of the route options as they make their way through the course. So we'll know where the last rider is with each of our routes and be able to reach out to any of the ham radio operators that are out in trucks to direct resources to a rider that might have a problem. So it's a fantastic relationship that we have here.
Well, I think people, particularly a lot of people who don't do a lot of events, but maybe want to expand what they do. They ride at 30, they'd like to do 64, but they have a little anxiety. They don't want to get stuck out there somewhere. I mean, it's really comforting to know that you're going to know where the last rider is, and there's always going to be someone coming behind you. You never have to worry that you're the last one out there by yourself if you have a breakdown or mechanical failure.
Exactly. I mean, and that's one of the great things about events such as this. And if you're out there and you're used to riding 32 miles in a club ride, and
right,
you decide this is the time I want to do a 64, events like this are the perfect opportunity to do that, because we truly have your back when you undertake a step up like that. So if you decide suddenly that you have bit off a little bit more than you can chew, we'll get you back to the finish line, and we'll have an ice cold beer waiting for you there. So no time like next Saturday to bite off that next level event for you.
Well, good. I think it's great to encourage people to kind of move beyond what you're used to and experience something different. I think this is a great ride. We really enjoy being a part of this event each year. I know that the start and finish is all at the La Hacienda Center, Village Center. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's 1200 Avienda Central and in the villages. Yes, start and finish is there, as well as the events on Friday and Sunday that we'll talk about a little bit later.
So the other thing is that at the end of the ride, this is November, but for you, it's still going to be October, and you're going to have a little bit of an Oktoberfest going on. Tell us about that.
Right. The Oktoberfest in November is what we'll be having. So at the ride finish underneath the big tent, we'll have Das Krankenhaus Beer Garden, and I'll let people go off and look up what Das Krankenhaus is, and then kind of get a little bit of a chuckle out of that when they find out what it stands for. But we'll be serving up beer. Each rider gets a free beer, and then they can purchase supplemental beers and wine, to be honest, for $2 a piece. But in addition to the beer that will be flowing there, we'll also have DJ Bavarian Oscar, who is fresh off his whirlwind tour through Central Florida of the various Oktoberfest events, and he'll be spinning up Oktoberfest tunes for us. And then we will have members from the Deutscher Club, which is one of the many clubs that reside within the villages. They will be on hand. They'll be wearing lederhosen and dirndls, and they'll be kind of adding to the cultural authenticity of our beer garden. They'll be obviously sharing in a few libations throughout the afternoon, and then leading us along with toasts, as well as a couple of polkas along the way.
Well, you know, my son lives in Salt Lake City, and we were out there in September and went to a big Oktoberfest up at Park City, which they have every year. And I really, you know, a great Oktoberfest is fun. There's just no question about it. It's a fun event, and I applaud you for really getting this thing really revved up.
And we have a super secret little golf cart that's all tricked out to look like a beer keg. That'll be on hand as well. So we have a lot of little surprises out there,
Yeah, good.
including the rest stops on the 64 and the 100 mile. As you get past the halfway points on those, we'll have extra special little treat for the riders rolling through those rest stops.
So Pat hasn't told me what they are, but he's alluded to the fact in each conversation we've had about something special at these rest stops. So I'm curious as to find out what they are actually.
Well, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag completely, but I'll just say, keeping with the German theme, es macht Kinder froh und Erwachsene ebenso. And if you understand what that quote goes to, I've let the cat completely out of the bag.
The secret is safe with me.
Okay.
My college German didn't follow that at all.
All right.
So a couple things. I know that registration's still open. At this point, registration is $60. Is that correct?
Yes, we've moved into our late registration window. Dun, 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 dun. So it'll be $60 between now and race day. And then on race day, it'll jump to $70. So please don't wait till that day to register. Save yourself the $10 and jump in now. The weather forecast looks absolutely fantastic for Saturday.
Well, also for the Florida Bike Guy and for our live stream, you've got a $5 coupon we're going to put on the screen. We're going to bit.ly link to go to. You can get another $5 off the registration. So register now while it's 60, save $5, and you won't have to pay the enhanced $70 registration if you change your mind and want to come over there at the last minute.
Correct. So JDL5 gets you that $5 off the $60 registration.
And where are you going for registration? Hey, Mike. Thanks for joining us today, Mike. Where do they have to go for the registration? I know you're doing CAM Events is running your registration.
CAM Events, Race Roster is the location for registration. They can also register if they're a little bit hesitant about using online. They can come to the Bike Expo that is on Friday, the 9th of November, also at La Hacienda. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can register in person at that point in time, as well as pick up ride packets.
All right. Before we move into the expo on Friday, I just want to remind you, this is Jim Dodson. I'm the Florida Bike Guy. If you don't know me, those in the cycling world know who I am. I am an injury lawyer, and we represent cyclists throughout Florida, but we also represent people in car crashes and other traditional injury claims as well. I always tell cyclists they're more likely to know someone who's involved in a car crash than in a bike crash, fortunately. So whatever your need, we are here for you. And so continuing for a minute with our program. So I know that the expo on Friday, I always go up on Friday and spend the night because I enjoy going around the expo and seeing what you have. You've got a real variety of vendors there. So why don't you talk about that a minute, Pat?
Right. Okay. So Friday is the Cycling Expo. And again, it's at the La Hacienda Recreation Center. We'll be taking over the inside of the building as well as the parking lot. And our theme this year is e-bikes. So we will have just a whole bunch of e-bikes for individuals to actually jump on and take a test ride, a demo ride. So we'll have e-bikes from Specialized, Giant, Trek on hand for individuals to take out on the roads and see what it's actually like to be riding on an electronic assisted bicycle. But in addition to the e-bikes, we'll have regular bicycles as well for people to
So I know David's World is coming up, and I know David's World is bringing the Trek products with their e-bikes as well. And I think you told me the Specialized trailer that you sometimes see at the Horrible 100 and some of the other events will be there, and they usually have 20 or 30 bikes on the trailer in addition to their e-bikes. Is that correct?
Yeah, Specialized will be there, correct. Yep.
Okay. I will just say that if you haven't ridden an e-bike and you have any curiosity about e-bikes, this is the thing to do. I would take advantage of this opportunity. The La Hacienda is going to have the expo inside, but you'll see the bikes outside where they're set up for the demos, and they'll be out there with the trailers. You know, when you come back from a ride on an e-bike, you will have a hard time getting a grin off your face. They're just a hoot to ride, and I think it's going to open the eyes of a lot of people to what a real addition to the cycling world e-bikes will become, and really clearly are becoming. They are really coming on strong. They're the wave of the future in so many ways. I don't think they're going to replace our traditional road bikes, but they certainly have a place in the bike world. And I think it's fun that you can have that. I'm looking forward to trying some myself again.
Yeah, I took an e-bike out for a test ride, and I won't say I'm anxiously awaiting the time in my life when I want to transition from a regular bike to an e-bike. But let me tell you, I'm less apprehensive about when that day ultimately arrives, because the e-bike really provides you a chance to stay out there riding with your peers when the old age, we know it's going to happen when that day comes, when you just don't have the legs anymore to do it. The ability to stay with some of your riders and enjoy the post-ride camaraderie. And then for those who have a spouse that doesn't ride quite at the same level, it's a great opportunity to be able to have them join you on your rides.
And really, I would mention, go to our website and look at the Facebook Live we did with Pedelec, Phil and Pedelec down in Punta Gorda, because he explained the differences in the mechanism of e-bikes. There's two different versions of e-bikes in terms of the power assist, how they work, and the features to look forward. And I think it'd be a good primer before you go up and start looking at them, particularly if you have any concerns you might want to actually leave with one someday. So I know that talk about some of the vendors that are going to be at the expo there, Pat.
We'll have a number of vendors from cycling vacations to healthcare organizations that'll be doing some very rudimentary health examinations, what have you. We'll have TerraTrike there, Cat Trike. Obviously, we've already mentioned that we'll have the Giant Specialized and Trek there. We'll have our local bicycle shops will be on hand, Village Cycles, as well as David's World Cycle. David's World Cycle, by the way, is one of our two title sponsors. Quest Diagnostics is the other one. So we're extremely excited to have a whole plethora of vendors there helping us with this event, including the frame doctor who is coming in. And
I need to talk
to anybody that has a carbon bike. He's an interesting individual and does amazing work on carbon bike repairs.
I need to talk to him. I need to find out who he is. I've heard much about what he does. And we have a question from Mike, and I thank you, Mike. I appreciate you submitting your question. And if you're watching and you have a question, put it on the screen. If it's something that we can't get to, you do it maybe after we sign off. We'll definitely respond to you. Mike wants to know if the event is always the second weekend in November.
9 times out of 10, it will be the second weekend in November. But there are times when we actually go the week before the Horrible 100. We won't attempt to compete with the Horrible 100. So there are some timings with leap year and alignment of Mars and Venus and all this stuff where it might not be exactly the second weekend. It could be the first, but we will know that well in advance and it'll be out on our calendar. But by and large, it is the second weekend in November.
Also, travel vendor, Vermont Travel is there. Aren't they a vendor there every year? The Vermont Travel Club or something?
Vermont Bicycle Tours.
Yeah.
They have been there for many years, but this year they're not going to be there in person.
Okay. All right. So have you had an opportunity to plug your sponsors? I know I wanted to get that in.
Yeah, well, there's an absolute ton of them, but clearly our two primary sponsors, our title sponsors, Quest Diagnostics, they've been with us since the beginning and have just re-upped as well to continue on with us. And then this year we're welcoming on board David's World Cycle and they have signed up for a multi-year commitment to us. And we are just incredibly excited to have those two individual organizations providing us with a tremendous amount of support for this event. In addition to them, we have an embarrassment of riches within the Villages community in terms of sponsors. If you go out to the website, it's just sponsor after sponsor after sponsor, contributing in big and small ways. And in addition to the sponsors, we have an embarrassment of riches with volunteers that help us with the Friday event, and then with Saturday, and then our Sunday, which we haven't had a chance to talk about too much, is our club rides, which is essentially the Sumter Landing Bicycle Club, providing individuals an opportunity to participate in what is, in essence, our club rides. That they're no drop, and we have different pace groups that are going out. We thought we had that turned off.
Well, it wouldn't be a live stream without something going on like that. That's fine.
Yes, at least nobody's breaking into the house right now. Yes, but so we have club rides that'll be going out Sunday, also from La Hacienda. So like we said, everything takes place at the La Hacienda Recreation Center.
So does that mean that if I'm up there as a guest or want to just check out what the club rides are like, I'm not a member of the club, I can come ride a club ride on Sunday?
Absolutely. And you'll sign a one-time waiver that'll get you covered under our umbrella gap insurance for the event. But it's just an opportunity to come and experience what riding is like in the Villages. The event is the event, and obviously there'll be a lot more resources dedicated to that. But if you are interested in retiring into our community, this will give you a chance to see what cycling is like on a day-to-day basis with a club in the Villages. And
so you're a member of the Sumter Landing Bike Club. There are two clubs up in the Villages. You're the larger of the two. So just tell us a minute about the club, how big it is, and kind of things you do.
Yeah, we actually have a handful of clubs. Sumter Landing Bicycle Club is the largest. We're about 900 members right now.
Pretty good size.
We ride 5 days a week. Thursdays and Sundays are the days that we don't ride. But there's the Village Bicycle Club. They're
Right.
a little bit smaller than us, in the 100 to 200 rider range. And they'll ride when we don't ride, plus days that we ride as well. So literally, you can ride 7 days a week within the Villages during the day when the sun is out. So as a retirement community, if you're looking for some place to go to when you retire where you can ride every single day of the week, this is an absolutely phenomenal place to do that. And then in addition to those two clubs, we also have a tandem club, the Panthers, and they ride here as well. And there's
Ride tandem.
cross-pollination between all three of those clubs.
And the Tandem Club is always represented at the expo. They'll be there on Friday if you want to meet them. They're an interesting group of people, and they've got fascinating bicycles or tandems. Dr. Merkin and his wife ride probably one of the more fascinating custom tandems that I've ever seen.
That they do. And on Saturday, they will have some club members that'll be dedicated to helping us with one of our SAG stops, the one out at Marshpin Outlet Park by Lake Panasoffkee. So everybody helps make this event happen.
So, Pat, I appreciate the time you've given us this morning. It's been really interesting for me. I appreciate everyone joining us today. Katie's putting the bit.ly link on the screen. Get your registration, get your $5 gift or $5 savings to register with a link. I'll be up there. We look forward to seeing you all there. Come over and introduce yourself to me if you're there. Next week, we're speaking to Lewis McDonald, who is the ride director for the Horrible 100. Everybody knows about the Horrible 100. And Lewis will be telling us what's going on there this year and getting us ready to participate in that as well. So this is Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. I want to thank you for joining us today. Till next week, be safe out there. Take care.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the opportunity.